Good morning, and welcome to today's Vivid webinar, See How ITSM Self-Service Technology Makes a Strong Business Pass for Free FastPass Cloud. Our sponsor today is FastPass Corporation. They are I'm sorry, Finn, could you click? Thank you. They're a worldwide leader in password management for large enterprises, and our presenter today will be Finn Jensen. And Finn, could you go to the next slide? Oh, thank you. Today our presenter will be Finn Jensen, but I wanted to make sure that you're aware that your SIG leaders are on the call. I'm Robbie Clay-Ahmet. Laura Walker and Shree are also on the call. And Finn, if you can move to the next slide. Just the next one, please. Sorry. Finn is the CEO of FastPass Corporation. They do have a software that helps with enterprise management, enterprise license management. Finn's going to be describing that to you. And if you could click, Finn. Additionally, we have Chuck Darst, who many of you know. He's our ITSM Product Marketing Manager from HPE. And Finn, if you could click to the next slide. We do have a couple of housekeeping items to talk about today. This session is being recorded, and the recording will be available to all Vivid members on our website. There is a question and answer pane. If you could please type your questions into that pane on the control panel. We'll be getting to questions at the end of Finn's presentation. Next slide, please. If you look just under in the middle of your screen, you'll see the questions and chat box. Type your questions there, and we will get to those as they are queued up. This will be more of an interactive question and answer session than you might be used to on our Vivid webinars, but we hope you enjoy the new format. You'll hold your questions, and then would you go to the next slide, please? With that, I'm going to turn it over to Finn. Again, thank you to FastPass, to Finn, and to Chuck for making this possible. It's all yours, Finn.
Okay, thank you, and thank you to all of you for joining this. It's nice to meet you here. So I look forward to present our solution, which has been architected by HPE and FastPass, and which we presented for the first time at Discover in Las Vegas in June. So I know that in this interest group, you all have a deep interest in service management. To improve your services, you bring in tools and processes. I'll take a look at a very important part of the workload that you have in the service desk, which is passwords. We have asked Service Desk Institute, which is a member organization, to make research for us in the member community, and they have brought to us some very interesting facts that I like to bring in first to put in our solution in context with what the interest is for password solutions and what the challenges are. As you see here to the question, you see that companies do, to a large degree, have a lot of questions or a lot of password calls to the service desk. On average, those companies who have, all companies have on average 24% of all calls being password related, which means that password related calls are the single most frequent call type. Now, imagine that you could get these calls for passwords out of your service desk with users handling them themselves. What would you gain? I think the first thing you might think of is the benefits for your own service desk, who will have a lot of time or have the time to do better service on more important matters. Secondly, it's worthwhile thinking about the authentication process, which we know from some service desks might be rather loose, just like, oh, I want a password, and then the user can't get a password, to a system like FastPass, where there's a very strict authentication process. But certainly, and perhaps most important for many of you, will be the extra service that users will experience. And here I'm particularly thinking about users coming in outside your normal opening hours. Most service desks have opening hours and are closed evening, nights, weekends. Our statistics shows us that the user interest in having service in these periods outside your normal business hours are normally much higher than is expected at the service desk. So there are clear benefits from having a self-service solution, and many companies have realized that. The same survey from Service Desk Institute shows that around 60% of organizations already has a self-service solution. But what is quite frightening is what the illustration shows here, that the return on investment, there's only 17% who has reached a result that's better than 70%, or perhaps even better than 100%. Only 17% of the organizations, whereas 56% has reached less than half their business case. Now, and why is that? It is not because it has been too expensive. It is because the users are not using it. What you see in the circle here is the adoption rates for companies having self-service. And the majority, 86% of companies with a self-service solution, achieve less than 40% success rate. This could actually be quite frightening to me, because why would you start a project that looks here as if it will normally fail? The survey, we also asked in the survey, or SDI asked in the survey, why? What's the problem? What's your inhibitors to success? And there was some quite clear answers. There's a problem with users enrolling, and we need users to enroll to authenticate them. Many users, in 22% of the organizations, they say users can't do the authentications needed. Actually, in 38% of the cases, users preferred to call the service desk instead of doing self-service. Has to do with a lot of things, actually, and some minor items. But in total, 82% of inhibitors could be explained by problems with enrollment, authentication, or contact with service desk. Now, this is, and I have to be honest, there's a lot of competitive products to our FastPass product in the market. So we're pretty sure that those with the big problems are not our customers, because here, what are FastPass customers saying about self-service? Here we have some testimonials from some of our mid-sized customers from in the US, in California, Front Porch 1,500 users, from UK, Pete Townley from NHS, and from Scandinavia, a Danish city. They are all experiencing between 70 to 90% success rate, and we have a lot of other testimonials, and they are available for you if you like to see. And the reason for this is a combination of FastPass and what we call FastPass best practices. So it's not only a product matter, this to get success, it's of course to a high degree what the customers do themselves with their processes. And if you consider to go into self-service, what you should do to make sure that your users want to use it and can use the system. So this is, for most of you, will probably be the most important part of the business case. How do we get a high success rate for users? But we have opened, together with HP, we have opened for an quite alternative way to look into it. Because imagine that you could have a solution that wouldn't cost you anything. And then perhaps start at a low ambition level, but having no cost, could kind of be a way for you to test if this is really would be something for you. So what is available, what we made available at Discover, was a free FastPass cloud offering for companies in the size from 2,000 to 30,000 users, and for HPE ITSM customers. And with this we mean really free, as in $0. And if you sign up, it would be for at least the next 4 years. So it's not just, a test free in the testing period. We're talking production that could be free for you. And let me explain to you what that solution covers. And here, when I start, it is based on a close integration to HP Service Anywhere. So for the self-service of Service Anywhere, you have a portal where users can get different services for self-service. And if you have FastPass, you'll have an added box saying password reset or unlock. That might not be where you start. You might start into articles and say, I'm looking for something for password problems. And you will find an article saying, this is the kind of things you can get solved, click here. So no matter where you click, you will be connected to the FastPass cloud. But seen from the user perspective, it's a seamless transfer to an environment that looks and feels like the one they're used to. And in here, they're being asked, what do we want to do? Do we want to reset a forgotten password? Do we want to unlock your account? Or do we want to enroll? And you identify with your user ID. But to use the system, you need to enroll first. And we base the authentication on what is known as challenge questions. And here you have to select some questions from the standard list, and you can make your own questions. So now you're enrolled. When you then want to get self-service and assistance, you have to answer 2 of the questions correctly. And when that's done, you are allowed to make your own new password, and FastPass will help you by displaying your Active Directory password policy, and as you comply it turns green. You can even do this in the same way from your smartphone. So this is all part of the solution. It's not the most advanced solution, but it has all the functionality that most people would expect, and indeed what would be the standard 3-5 years ago. Of course, when we talk passwords, when we talk cloud, you would demand a secure system. So FastPass is regularly being certified externally for web application security from the most accepted standards for security. Okay, now this solution that I presented to you will for many companies be what you expect, and I would think you would probably reach somewhere between 30 to 50% success rate. To go beyond that, to reach 70-90%, you would probably need to add some value-added functions from our solution. These are payable, these are chargeable, and there's a small annual fee per user. And I picked some of the most, I think, important features that you can add to your solution. For example, we need users to enroll. A user not enrolled can't use self-service. And here we in FastPass have a number of different models that might be used by one organization or another, or you can even combine them. But the point is they're all automatic, so there's no work for you to monitor that users get into FastPass. FastPass will basically force them in an automatic way based upon the way that you want it to happen. So we get users in, all users in. Some users, as the SDI research said, have problems, 22%, with the authentication. And it's a well-known fact that if you have good questions for authentication, then you probably will be around 70, 60, 80% who can answer the questions correctly, but the remaining part will not remember their answers. So they will have to call the service desk. But here you can add more authentication methods. For example, using the mobile phone as authentication so that we can send a PIN code via SMS. You can ask FastPass to send a PIN code to the private email because the corporate email is of course locked. But you can send it to a private email and use that for authentication. And you can even combine questions and the SMS to make a two-factor authentication if you have situations where you want especially strong authentication to happen. But in most cases, it's up to the users to select the most convenient method, and in this way we move very close to 100% success in the authentication. Perhaps, however, the most important trick is what happens when our users come in the morning, go to the Windows login screen, and it's dead because the password is locked. Here it is extremely important and helpful for the user if there's an icon on the Windows login screen, so that when the user clicks on that instead, then the otherwise dead PC will live up and do the FastPass process, as I showed you before, but being done on the otherwise dead PC. This requires the FastPass PC client to be deployed. But now this means that the user can immediately in front of him see what to do. This is even possible for users from external network, and it's actually even possible for us to reset a locked PC cache password for remote users. And I know for many large HP customers, you have advanced corporate systems like SAP or Oracle or LDAP or other corporate passwords. And FastPass can help your users reset those either as a direct password reset or perhaps even as a synchronization model. So it's not only the Windows password, but we can help the users with all their passwords, which actually is an important part for the users to get back to the systems, to the service. But no matter what we do, some users will be in trouble and they will call the service desk. And here in FastPass, we actually take, it's contradictory. We say self-service, so there's nothing to do for the service desk, but that's not the true. In reality, there will always be users calling you. So we have made the FastPass help this client, which helps the service desk to bring a user back into self-service. So this is part of our best practices. How should the service desk do their job for the few people who's actually calling, because we need to get them back. So there's a special helpless client for that, also as an optional model. So in summary, you can, with FastPass Cloud, decide you want to go in low cost meaning actually no cost, and start there, and then gradually bring in more features if you see that is necessary. Your users ask for more service or ask for better facilities, then you can gradually add these features that, as I said, cost a pretty small amount per user per year. Or you might go in from start on and say, okay, we really like this solution and we want to have these facilities as part of the solution from start. And in this way, securing yourself the high adoption instead of what is unfortunately seems to be a standard of low adoption, but not for our customers who follow our best practices. So with this said, I will, for those of you who see an interest with this, who perhaps haven't had any password reset as password self-service solution, or perhaps belong to the group of companies who have a solution with an unsatisfactory result, please contact us. You can come through our website, you can contact us directly, phone, mail, etc. And it would be easy for you to make a try. And what are the costs? Is that for the base version, it's free. Only a small cost to set up for initial purpose. I think that is what I would like to introduce, and then give the word back to Robbie.
And thank you, Finn. We really appreciate the information. I did want to make sure that everyone is aware that you'll be doing another Vivid webinar. I believe it's November 10th, and you'll have additional updates at that point. So more information will be coming out about that webinar. And with that, I wanted to turn it over to Laura to begin the Q&A session.
Great, thank you, Robbie. So far, I don't see any questions in the questions panel, so if you do have questions, please enter those now. If you don't see the questions panel, feel free to click that orange box with a white arrow inside. That should expand your panes, so you're able to enter questions there. We'll give people a couple minutes to enter their questions.
And in the meantime, Finn, I'm sure that you deal with questions from customers a lot. Are there some typical questions that you usually get when introducing the product and the concept? Yes,
of course it is. But I think one of them is really, what can we do as a service desk? Because often the decision for self-service comes from the service desk or the IT operations department. And it really is, what can we do? And I think it is very, very important to understand that the password self-service solution that seems to be very simple is not just a technical project. To remember, in a password self-service project, there's a technical roadmap, if you like, of installing or connecting and everything to make sure the technology works. But it is more important to remember also in this case, as in most IT projects actually, that there is the human side. And what should we do for the users, and what should we do for our own service desk to make sure that this is a successful project? I think it's discussions around this that are the most common, the most challenging, and also the most interesting that we get.
Great. Well, we do have a couple questions coming in now, so let me send those your way. The first one we have is, how is the solution integrated with Service Manager?
The integration with Service Anywhere, which is the one we took, is an integration which is easily copied to any customer with Service Anywhere, that makes integration into the, as I said, the self-service. There's actually also an integration that makes it easy for a service desk employee to click through to FastPass, to the help desk client I talked about, to be used by the service desk. And then there's an integration so that all transactions being made by the user is automatically brought back as tickets, a completed transaction, as tickets to Service Anywhere. So it's part of the management statistics of what is happening, or what is really the service desk contributing to, even though it is a self-service. So you can use all the tools for management monitoring in Service Anywhere. Basically, the same integration is easily done, if I may say so, is easily done to Service Manager. But together with HP, we made it for Service Anywhere because being a cloud solution and our fitted very well to our new cloud solution. I should perhaps say that FastPass is also available as an on-premise product where it might be fit more natural with Service Manager, but you could also connect Service Manager to the FastPass cloud.
Okay. The next question I have, is the client install option considered part of the basic portal and mobile portal, or is that not part of the free for 4 years offer?
Good. Thank you. Very good question. The mobile access to be used from smartphones or from tablets is part of the free offering. So that will often be the case that users will, in the free solution, will use the mobile because we have to accept that the PC is dead. So with the free offering, the user have to use his smartphone to get access and reset the password. That will be fine. Or go to a colleague and do it there. So that is the free. The PC client, which makes a number of good things, one of them making it possible to use the PC, although we don't have the Windows password, is a chargeable feature. Was that clear?
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Let me page through. What is the standard implementation time?
Well, as I said before, think of it as a technical implementation and a user implementation. The technical implementation requires the technical implementation for the cloud integration consists of an agent to be installed at the customer's domain. This agent makes it possible for the FastPass cloud to get in contact with the customer's Active Directory. We need to write passwords to the Active Directory. So that's a FastPass software agent. It's a small item, and the customer gives FastPass privilege rights to reset password. There's something with the firewall, stuff like that, security to bring it in. We need a couple of hours, 2-3 hours remote consulting to the customer. The customer normally uses, I would say, around a day or so to prepare their infrastructure to let FastPass come in. So not a lot. Then for the user orientation, that would prepare for how do we get users enrolled if we don't use FastPass standard, how do we do these different stuff, what kind of questions do we want to have, stuff like that. It's hard to say how much time that takes, but that's typically done by the service desk management who takes responsibility for that process. But I would say that takes a bit more time. So in calendar time, to bring in the free version, I would say, should not take more than a couple of weeks maximum. It could be done faster. You can do a POC within a few days, but you'll probably want to do some more tests and stuff like that before you release it publicly. So I would say 2-4 weeks kind of calendar time. But that's for the free one. If you want to install FastPass on premise and want all the features and you're a large complicated environment, perhaps with multiple ADs, perhaps with other passwords, of course it might take some months. So somewhere from a couple of days to some months would be the time frame, depending on your internal complexity and the complexity of the functions you want to put in action.
Great, thank you. So along those lines, how does FastPass Cloud integrate with our internal Active Directory?
Yeah, right. The integration is through this agent I talked about before. So, and what the interesting thing is, FastPass does not read or copy your passwords to the cloud. In the FastPass cloud, the only information we have about your users is the user IDs and the authentication information authentication information being the questions and answers. And if you use, for example, SMS, the mobile number. We need that in the cloud. But that's the only thing we have. The password is only in FastPass Cloud for the transition until it's been written to Active Directory. Then it disappears. So the integration is through this software agent, as I talked about.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple more questions here. What role does the service desk have when self-service of passwords is introduced? Can you talk a little bit more about that? I know you briefly touched on it.
Yeah. As you saw on the statistics from Service Desk Institute, an unfortunately high number of users in these statistics call back to the service desk. When you introduce a new service like self-service, don't be surprised if there is some conservatism, which means that users who actually is in a position to do self-service would call, because that's what we always do. We always call the service desk if we have a problem. Then it's extremely important that the service desk has a clear process of saying, how do we tackle these users in a positive way, bring them in and say, okay, have something like, we'd like to introduce you for a service that will make it much easier for you in the future, that will make it possible for you to even reset a password when we're not here. So I'll help you enroll into this self-service from FastPass and show you what to do. Now, this user, in principle, can't enroll, because to enroll in FastPass, you need your Windows password. That's how you authenticate to FastPass for enrolling. And since he calls you, he hasn't got that either. So then you, as a service desk, could give him a Windows password, but then he probably forgets to sign into self-service, but starts doing his job, and then he calls you again next time he forgets. So you help him by giving him a code that can only be used to enroll into FastPass. And perhaps here in the beginning, you would take a bit more time than you would to just help him with a password, to make sure he understands and can see the light that this is actually a very good way. I can help myself if, as I said, a Sunday I should do it, or I call in a Monday morning when there's a long queue because everybody else has forgotten their passwords. I can handle myself. That would actually be very good. So I would say that it's to decide about what process should we do, how should we use the FastPass help desk client in the best way to make sure that we bring users back. This is a crucial point for long-term success.
Thank you. The last question I have here is, can users really answer the authentication questions? Don't they forget?
Well, I think I mentioned that we have some statistics pointing to when you have some normal questions that perhaps 30% can't remember. And then it's good that we have the SMS instead. And actually, if users can choose from SMS and questions, and they do have a mobile phone, they will, in the majority of cases, choose the SMS. But there might be users or situations where you don't have a mobile, and then you have to rely on questions and answers. Now, some questions, it's simply, what is your favorite film? What is your favorite movie? Well, it might be one movie today and another movie a year ago when I enrolled. So that might be a bit shaky even to answer correctly. So we have some suggestions that we call very good questions to put in a standard list for users to select from. For example, questions like, what are the 5 last digits in your driver license? Well, you don't remember that, but you probably carry it on you. You probably can find your driver license and then enter the last 5 digits. And we don't change the driver license so often. And you have a number of other questions of that character where you actually makes it where you make it easy for users to find or remember the answers without any colleagues or external can guess what it is. So So it's important as part of the process to give some considerations what would be good questions in my company, and then of course we are happy to contribute with what we call our best practices. And if you do that, then you can get the percentage much higher.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Those are all the questions I have. Does anyone else on the panel of organizers have questions?
Hey, this is Chuck, and thanks for the presentation. One of the things that I know will come up is people will say, well, yeah, I do some password reset today, and should I just cobble together a solution using like task automation, so operations orchestration, so kind of a more homegrown type approach. I think the free offer here is very compelling for, especially even for the basic offer. But if you just had any comments about like, well, trying to knit a solution together like this yourself versus going with commercial software, I think that would be helpful also.
Yeah. We have a development department developing this software, and they're busy, just by following up what is Microsoft doing. If you have a solution where you rely on Microsoft software, you have to keep up to date all the time. The new server software, new client software, and you have to keep up all the time. And with a system like this, you'll probably ask one or 1.5 guy to develop it. What would be the situation for a homegrown if he leaves the company? Point one. Secondly, being busy with something else, and you need to upgrade to a new Microsoft version or get a new Microsoft patch, and suddenly it doesn't work. You have a lot of dependency on a few people. And even on the commercial side, I would guess that the cost seen over some years would, for most companies, would even be higher than having, for example, our cloud offering, where you even on top of the development cost also have the operational cost covered, because the FastPass cloud covers all the servers, everything, the backup, and you don't, and the upgrades of FastPass, etc. You don't have to think about it. So actually, we did a market research in US 6 months ago, and you're right. We were surprised how high a proportion of companies who have made their own solution. We were actually very surprised. So I no doubt that many companies are in this situation, but I think it's honestly to say, it's easy for me to say, but I think it is a solution of the past. If you have a commercial solution available, I think you're much better protected for the future, and I don't think it's more expensive.
Hey, that's a good answer. Yeah, so I appreciate that.
Hi, Finn. This is Sri. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Hi, Sri. Thanks for a great presentation. It's very interesting to learn. I'm trying to get my head over it, these concepts. So some of the questions, usually as a service providers like us, they ask the questions, are there any audit trail reports available through FastPass?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's just to give you a kind of sense of it, a standard password reset transaction will result in somewhere from 5 to 10 locked transactions, and this comprehensive lock being available typically for the compliance officers to make surveys or investigations if they have any concerns, is of course available for customers. Now, you said you represent a managed service provider. The special, as you can guess now that we have an offering called FastPass Cloud, is that FastPass is even a cloud-based software that actually we see many of the world's large MSPs be using not the FastPass cloud, but making their own clouds. So it is being used by many MSPs worldwide as their own, as kind of being branded as their own solution.
That's good to hear. This is very interesting. Based on this, I think you touched upon Chuck's question earlier also related to pricing. How this commercial model, pricing model works? Are there any user limitation for free usage?
Well, we have said in the free version that is between 2,000 to 30,000, and basically the financial, if a customer coming in taking the free version costs us money, like a LinkedIn loses money from users only using LinkedIn basic services. So of course our business idea in this is that customers over time or from the beginning will want to add some of the value add. Now the value add cost per unit, but of course we have some packages where we bulk features together to get a low price per user, and then you pay annually for this service multiplied by the number of users you have in your installation, and the cost decreases the more per user, the more users you have. So, but I would say for let's say a company of for example 10,000 users, if they want some of the added functionality, which is most common, we would probably end somewhere between $1 to $2 per user per year, probably somewhere in that neighborhood. Just to give you an idea, take it with all caution, but that's what we see from the situations we've been in.
Yeah, no, this is educational. Definitely, I understand where you're coming from, and it makes sense to me. And I have a last question, if you don't mind.
Yes, sure.
So now I know this is the HP, like integrated with HP Service Anywhere. That would be great. But when we go to the enterprise environments, there may be multiple vendor tools are there as a service management tools.
Yeah.
This product will take care of all of the integrations, or only limited to particular vendor products?
No, we have customers all over the world in all sizes, from a couple of hundred users up to 100,000 users. So we have over the last many years met, I think, all major ITSM products, and therefore we have integration platform that easily connects to all different types of systems. But I would like to stress that we have had started beginning of this year. We've been an HP partner for many years, but really where we've started with the Service Anywhere people in HP to make a very close cooperation. So I would say it's more complete if you take the HP products, but we have the basic building blocks to make it for any kind of ITSM solution you might have.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, thank you. Back to Terry.
I think we don't have any more questions. So if whoever's on the slide deck, if you want to bring up the last slide or two, we will wrap up our presentation for today.
Is Robbie taking over now?
I can do that.
Good.
So, sorry, everyone. So we have a survey to fill out, as usual, after our webinars. You can find the Vivid survey at vivid-worldwide.org, and you can always access FastPass information at fastpasscorp.com. And again, I did want to remind you that we have the additional webinar coming up in November from FastPass, so I'm sure Finn will have more to present to us there. Thank you, Chuck.
Robbie?
Yes,
sorry to interrupt. Hey, while we are here, maybe some of the attendees in this webinar have some questions for Chuck. Is there, well, if you have a question, please feel free to ask. Well, we have him on the call here.
And Marie, are we going to unmute the audience, or do you want questions typed into the pane?
we can unmute, yeah. And so do you? Yeah, I can unmute. And do you want to
So I guess
ask
to
questions?
So to the audience, are there any topics that you would like to discuss while we're on the webinar? And as long as we have you here, are there any topics you would like to see in future webinars?
And I see that we have Alex here in the audience. Alex, can unmute you, so maybe if you can introduce yourself. And if you have a question for Chuck or for Finn, please go ahead. Alex, can you hear us?
Sure, I can. Thank you. Appreciate.
Hi, Alex.
Yeah, hi. I do not have just right now any questions, but appreciate you for the really interesting information and introduction to new product. And we'll see. We'll see. Let me check it out, how it could work.
You're welcome, Alex. Thank you. Thank you for your nice words.
And Alex, when you check it out, please let us know on the SIG site what your thoughts are and how it's going.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the next person. We have Mr. or Mrs. Fornow. Can you hear us? See Fornow?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello. Any questions from about this webinar, or anything you'd like to share with us? What are you doing? What is your position? We've opened up
You
your
might
mic,
be muted.
Okay, we move on to the next person, Dave Giaidak. We are unmuting you, so can you hear us? Dave?
Hi, Dave, are you on mute? Emery, maybe we should move on to the next person.
Yes, I do see a question come in from Caleb. It's in the questions pane. Caleb, do you want to ask your question? I've unmuted you, we can hear you.
Yeah, sure, I can hear you. I just wanted to know if there are any industry reports from Gartner, for example, or IDC about the FastPass solution.
Yeah, yes, actually, thank you for your question. On our website, I'll be happy to send you a small summary that IDC has done on from FastPass or about FastPass, and some considerations around this. I think you will find very interesting. We can send it to you, or you can actually on our website ask to get this documented, and we'll send it right away.
Okay, thanks. I'll do that. I'll check your website.
Thank you. It'll be somewhere under. If you go to our website and then Actions, then you can just click in there, and it'll be sent to you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. We also have on the call here Han Ping Fung. I'm unmuting you. Do you have any questions, Han? I don't know if he can hear us. Okay. Joel? Joel can't hear us. He is not. Okay, Julie Azulai. Anything you'd like to add to this topic? Tell us who you are. No, I don't hear her. So back to you, Robbie.
Okay. Well, we have about 4 minutes left, so it's probably time to wrap up anyway. Finn, you already published your contact information, your email address in the presentation. I'm assuming that you're open for email questions going forward?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Everyone, please do remember to fill out the survey, and if you have additional questions for Finn, go ahead and send them in. If you have additional topics you would like to see, please let Laura, Shree, or myself know about it. And thank you, Finn, thank you, Chuck, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.